Before we start, if you enjoy the story, please leave a like and check if you're subscribed. The conference room tasted like recycled air and tension. Ashton Drake had negotiated in worse places, but none had contained her. Senna sat across the obsidian table, spine straight, white fur almost luminous against her dark suit. Black markings traced delicate patterns along her jawline and disappeared beneath her collar. Her ears swiveled independently, tracking every sound. That tail curved around her chair with liquid grace. Ashton forced his attention back to the Kashari trade minister, droning about resource distribution. His mind wandered to how those markings might continue down her body, whether her fur would be as soft as it looked, what sound she'd make if he traced his tongue along. Senna's head snapped toward him. Her pupils expanded to swallow the ice blue of her irises. You want to do what, human? Ashton's heart slammed against his ribs. I'm sorry. She rose with predatory fluidity. Her lips pulled back just enough to show the points of her canines. Perhaps we should take a brief recess, the trade minister suggested nervously. Senna's gaze never left Ashton. Her tail lashed once, twice. Yes, she said, voice carrying a subsonic rumble. Agent Drake and I need to discuss a security matter, privately. 6 hours earlier, Nexus Station hung in the void between territories like a promise. Ashton's shuttle docked with the rotating wheel, and through the viewport he watched beings of a dozen species move through arrival processing. Then he saw the Kashari delegation. She was at the center, white fur, black hair cascading down her back. Even at 30 meters, Ashton felt the impact of her presence like a physical blow. She turned, scanning the area, and her profile could have been carved from marble if marble had whiskers and moved with that liquid grace. Heat unfurled low in his gut. His mind conjured the image of that fur under his palms, the weight of her body against his, those alien eyes watching him with predatory focus, while he, her ears swiveled, directly toward him. She turned, gaze cutting across the crowd with precision. Those blue eyes found his, held. Her nostrils flared. Then she looked away, but her tail curved into a question mark before straightening. Ashton released a breath he hadn't known he was holding. The whispers at the edge of his perception, phantom sensations from his recently repaired neural implant, had suddenly become a roar. The evening reception was carefully orchestrated pageantry. Ashton nursed a drink, studying the room's dynamics. Senna stood slightly apart from the other Kashari, junior attaché to their council, which meant either she was unimportant or extremely important, and they were hiding it. She wore a suit that caught the light in subtle ways, hugging her form close enough to make his imagination superfluous. Her tail moved with absent rhythm. Ashton wondered what that fur felt like, whether she'd arch into touch or shy away. If she gasped or purr or both, if he buried his hands in that black hair, and Senna's ears swiveled. Her pupils dilated. She scanned the room, then her gaze locked onto him. She set down her glass and started moving through the crowd. Toward him. She stopped just inside his personal space. He could smell her, something clean and sharp like winter air and weapon oil. Agent Drake, she said. Her voice carried harmonics his ears almost couldn't process. Miss Senna. He kept his tone neutral. I hope you're finding the accommodations acceptable. Adequate. Her tail swayed. You're recovering well from your injury, the implant surgery. That shouldn't have been in any briefing she had access to. I'm fine. Interesting. Her ears tilted forward. You should be more careful with your thoughts, Agent Drake. Before he could respond, she walked away with rigid control. Her tail had bottled out to twice its normal size. The next morning, the negotiations started badly and got worse. Ashton sat 3 seats down from the primary negotiator, supposedly there as security. Really, he was reading the room, but he couldn't concentrate because Senna sat directly across from him, and every time he looked at her, his mind spiraled. The way her throat moved when she spoke, how her uniform pulled tight across her shoulders. Whether she gasped or purr if he buried his hands in that black hair and pulled her head back, exposing her throat for his mouth. Senna's water glass shattered. Conversation stopped. Senna, burglar. Senna's water glass. Everyone stared at her hand, where water dripped between clawed fingers. My apologies, she said, voice absolutely level. Defective glass. But her eyes found Ashton's, and in them he saw something that made his stomach drop and his blood heat simultaneously. The realization hit him the same moment she spoke. You want to do what, human? The private conference room she dragged him to was small. Senna locked the door and turned on him with fury written across her features. Your implant, she hissed. It's broadcasting. What? Broadcasting. On Keshari perception frequencies. She stepped closer, catching his jaw, forcing his head to turn. I can hear it. Your thoughts. Every single filthy thing you've been thinking about me. Ashton's face burned. I didn't know, didn't you? She released him, pacing. Her tail lashed. This could end the talks, start a war. Thought invasion is the worst violation possible among my people. I'll turn myself in, no. She pulled out a device, scanning him. They'll never believe it wasn't intentional. She studied the results. I can't fix this here. The equipment needed is on the Keshari ship. So what do we do? Her tail swished. Then she looked at him with an expression caught between resignation and something dangerous. We keep it secret. You stay close so I can monitor whether anyone else has noticed, and you learn to control your thoughts, or think less about how I want to hear you purr while I make you come apart. Senna's breath caught. Yes, exactly like that. They stared at each other across 3 feet of charged air. This is going to be difficult, Senna said finally. Her ears tilted forward. No, I don't think you do, human. Where's the question? Do you know you're not? Oh! Then she left, leaving Ashton alone with his malfunctioning implant and the terrible realization that keeping his thoughts clean around her was going to be absolutely helpless. Senna's quarters were nothing like Ashton expected. He'd imagined clinical precision, cold efficiency. Instead, the space was warm, filled with textures, woven fabrics draped over furniture, soft lighting that mimicked planetary sunset. She sealed the door and gestured to a low couch. Sit. Tell me everything about the implant. He ran through it. The combat mission on Arcturus, the explosion that fractured his skull, emergency surgery, neural interface repairs, 3 weeks of recovery with minor glitches, headaches, phantom sounds. But nothing like this, he finished. Most species can't perceive on our frequencies. She stopped pacing, studying him. We evolved as ambush hunters, being able to sense electrical patterns, neural activity. It gave our ancestors an edge. Like spying, Ashton thought before he could stop himself. Her ears flattened, among other things. She pulled out the scanner, running it over his head with careful precision. Her fingers brushed his temple, and Ashton felt the contact like electric current. His imagination immediately supplied how those clawed fingers would feel dragging down his chest, whether she'd be gentle or rough. Stop that, Senna hissed. I'm trying. Try harder. But her breathing had changed. She stepped back, examining the results. This is worse than I thought. Your implant is amplifying. Every thought broadcast at nearly twice normal neural activity. Can you fix it? Not here. I'd need specialized equipment, and even then, her tail coiled tight. The repair would take hours. Someone would notice. How long until it resolves on its own? 48 hours minimum. She met his eyes. Can you maintain control for that long? Ashton looked at her standing there, backlit by warm lighting, every curve visible. Her lips were slightly parted, showing the edge of those sharp canines. Not even close, he thought. Her pupils dilated. That's what I was afraid of. She sank onto the couch beside him, close enough that he could feel her body heat. If you can't control this, we have 2 options. Report the malfunction and accept the diplomatic catastrophe, or I teach you to shield your thoughts well enough that other Kasheri won't notice. Can that be done? I've been listening to human thoughts for 3 years, she said quietly. Secret surveillance technology. My government wanted to understand your species better. I volunteered because she hesitated. Because I was curious about how you think, how you feel. And what did you learn? That humans are chaos. Her voice carried something almost like longing. You feel everything so intensely. My people suppressed that centuries ago. We chose logic over passion. But listening to human minds was like standing near a fire. Her claws flexed against his leg. I couldn't stop. Ashton's heart hammered. Is that why you approached me? I heard you from across the room. Her eyes locked on his. I've monitored thousands of human thoughts, but yours were different. Raw, honest. You weren't thinking about trade agreements. You were thinking about me like I was the only thing in the universe that mattered. You were, Ashton thought. You are. Senna's breath caught. Her hand rose, fingers hovering near his face. This is dangerous, she whispered. I know. If anyone discovers the surveillance, I'll be stripped of my position, imprisoned. And if they learn I've been concealing your broadcast. Her tail wrapped around her own waist. We'd both be considered security threats. Then why help me? She was silent. Then, because in 3 years of listening, I've never heard anything like you. Because my people forgot how to feel this way, and I want to remember. Her fingers traced the edge of his jaw. Because when you think about me, I hear what I've been missing my entire life. I want to kiss you, he thought. I want to know if you taste like you smell. I want to make you purr. Yes, Senna breathed. Yes, what? Yes, I purr. Yes, you're addictive. And yes, she closed the distance. You can kiss me. Ashton cupped her face, thumbs brushing those delicate markings. Her fur was impossibly soft, warm. He could feel her trembling, the subsonic rumble building in her chest. Their lips met. She tasted like ozone and something sweet. Her mouth was hot, aggressive, tongue rough against his. The purr vibrating through her intensified until he could feel it everywhere they touched. She pressed closer, one hand fisting in his hair, claws scraping his scalp in a way that sent fire down his spine. He pulled her into his lap. She came willingly, straddling him with pure predator grace, her tail wrapped around his waist. So perfect, he thought. She broke the kiss long enough to gasp. Your thoughts. I can't think when you're this loud. Good, Ashton growled and claimed her mouth again. His hands mapped her body through the suit, learning where she was sensitive, what made her purr louder, what made those claws dig into his shoulders. She arched into every touch, making sounds he'd never heard from any throat. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, her fur was disheveled and her eyes were wild. This can't happen again, she said, without conviction. It's going to. The emergency comm on her wrist chirped. Senna hissed a curse and checked the display. Mandatory security briefing. All delegation members. 20 minutes. They disentangled reluctantly. Senna stood, straightening her suit with shaking hands. We need protocols, she said. You'll sit beside me at all official functions. Close enough that I can monitor your broadcast. Far enough that we appear professional. You'll practice thought control. Focus on anything except how I want to peel that suit off you, she whimpered. Drake, sorry. Practice better. She moved to the door, then paused. After the briefing, there's a formal dinner. Every thought I hear, I'll respond with physical cues. If you're getting too loud, I'll tap my glass. If someone else might notice, I'll touch my throat. Understood? Understood. She looked back at him with an expression caught between desire and despair. For what it's worth, she said quietly, I've never felt anything like this either. Then she was gone, leaving Ashton alone with his racing heart and the certainty that 48 hours was going to feel like an eternity. The formal dinner was exquisite torture. Ashton sat 3 seats down from Senna, close enough to see every micro-expression, but far enough to maintain protocol. She wore something darker tonight, fabric that caught the light like oil on water. Those markings traced down her throat, disappearing beneath the high collar. Ashton tried focusing on his food, tried cataloging exit points, tried thinking about anything except how she'd felt in his lap, the taste of her mouth. Senna's glass clinked against her plate. A warning. He dragged his attention to the Turok ambassador discussing mineral rights. Lasted maybe 3 minutes before his gaze drifted back to her. Her tail beneath the table was coiling, uncoiling, the tip flicking in agitation. I want to know what that tail feels like wrapped around me, Ashton thought. Her hand moved to her throat. Danger signal. Ashton bit the inside of his cheek hard enough to taste copper. Across the room, Director Locke was watching him with narrowed eyes. The evening dragged on. Each course was an exercise in discipline. But then Senna laughed at something the elder said, and the sound went through him like electricity. Beautiful, he thought, before he could stop himself. Her ears swiveled toward him. Color rose beneath the white fur of her cheeks. The dinner finally ended. Ashton moved toward the exit, intending to return to his quarters. Agent Drake. Senna stood near a service corridor, partially hidden by a pillar. A word, please. He followed her into the dim corridor. Emergency lighting cast her in amber and shadow. That was close, she said. Elder Vorath asked why I seemed distracted. What did you tell him? That I was monitoring a potential security concern. She leaned against the wall. But we can't continue like this. You're getting louder. In 12 hours, every Kashari in the station will be able to hear you. Ashton's stomach dropped. Then we go to my superiors. There's a station-wide security lockdown. Starting in 20 minutes. Mandatory. All personnel confined to secured quarters until morning. That's convenient timing. Too convenient. Her eyes met his, which means either there is a genuine threat or someone is manipulating the situation. The lockdown pairs quarters by security clearance. You're assigned to Suite 7C. Let me guess. I'm in 7C. Her voice dropped. We have 12 hours alone, Drake. 12 hours where I can try to help you manage this before it becomes catastrophic. This is a terrible idea, Ashton thought. The worst, Senna agreed. But it's the only option we have. Suite 7C had 2 sleeping alcoves separated by a common area, floor-to-ceiling viewpoints showing the starfield beyond. Senna sealed the door and activated a privacy field. White noise hummed through the walls. We need to discuss what happens if this doesn't resolve, she said. If your implant continues broadcasting, we'll need an extraction plan before... Before what? Before I start a war with my thoughts about you? Yes, she turned to face him. If they discover you've been broadcasting without consent, they'll demand action, imprisonment, possibly worse. And you, what happens when they find out you've been hiding it? Her ears flattened. I made my choice when I kissed you. I spent my entire life following protocols, suppressing everything that made me feel alive. Then I heard your thoughts, and she moved to the V-port. You think so loudly, Drake. Like you're not afraid of what you want. Ashton crossed to her, close enough to feel her heat. I'm not afraid of wanting you. You should be. But she leaned back into him, just slightly. I'm your enemy, potentially. I've been spying on your species for years. I should report you. Should report myself. Should stop talking and let me touch you, Ashton thought. Her breath hitched. That's not helping. He settled his hands on her shoulders, working at the tension coiled there. She stiffened, then gradually melted under his touch. When did you lose someone? He asked quietly. Her tail stilled. What? You mentioned suppressing emotions after losing someone. Silence stretched. Then, 5 years ago. My bonded partner. Intelligence work investigating human expansion. There was an attack, human separatists. He died protecting me. I'm sorry. Don't be. He made his choice. Her voice was carefully neutral. Afterward, I buried everything, became exactly what our culture demands. Logical, controlled, empty. And now, I'm terrified. She turned in his arms. Because feeling this, wanting you, it's like being burned alive. And I don't know how to stop. Then don't, Ashton thought. Let me in. She kissed him. Different from before. Desperate instead of aggressive. Vulnerable instead of predatory. Her hands fisted in his shirt, claws catching fabric. The purr building in her chest sounded almost like a sob. I need you to understand something, she whispered against his mouth. I'm not just attracted to your body. I'm addicted to your mind. To hearing every thought without filters or lies. Then hear this, he thought. I don't care about the politics or the danger. I want you. All of you. Every broken piece. She made a sound between a gasp and a moan. Her tail wrapped around his waist, pulling him tighter. They moved to the couch in a tangle of limbs. She straddled him, rocking against him in a rhythm that destroyed coherent thought. His hands found the fastenings of her suit, worked them open with shaking fingers. The markings did continue. Down her throat, across her collarbone, disappearing beneath her undergarments in delicate tracery. Ashton traced them with his tongue. She arched into him, purring so loudly he could feel it in his bones. Perfect, he thought. Yes, she breathed. Yes, exactly like that, the comm panel chirped. Emergency priority. They both froze. Senna hissed a curse and reached for her wrist unit. The message scrolled across the display. Her expression went cold. What is it? Ashton asked. The lockdown wasn't random. Intelligence indicates a potential assassination attempt. Target, the delegation leads during tomorrow's treaty signing. Political reality intruded on their stolen moment. Do they know who? No. But whoever it is has access to station security. She pulled away, refastening her suit. This changes everything. How? Because if someone is trying to sabotage the talks, your broadcasting implant stops being our problem. It becomes a weapon. Understanding crystallized. You think someone did this deliberately. Not to expose me, but to use me. Think about it. You broadcast thoughts. Other Kashari hear them. If someone could make it seem like you're thinking violent things toward us, it would justify any response. Even war. That's insane. That's politics. Her tail lashed. And it means we can't trust anyone. We're on our own. Ashton stood, cold purpose settling over him. Then we find out who's behind this before they can use me as their trigger. Senna looked at him for a long moment. Then determination replaced fear. 12 hours, she said. We have 12 hours to uncover the conspiracy and stop the assassination. No pressure. Her lips curved into something sharp and dangerous. I work better under pressure. She crossed to him, rising on her toes to press a fierce kiss to his mouth. After this is over, she whispered, I'm going to take my time with you. No interruptions. Just you, me, and every single thought in your head. Promise? Promise, human. Then she turned to her workstation, all business, and began pulling up security files. Ashton watched her work and knew with complete certainty that he was in love with her. Her ears swiveled toward him. I heard that, she said without looking up. Good. Senna's claws clicked against the haptic interface, pulling up security logs with practiced efficiency. Ashton moved behind her, watching data cascade across the holographic display. There, she said, highlighting a timestamp. Oh. I say this most similar. Someone accessed the medical records database 4 days ago. Your file specifically. Who? The credentials belong to a maintenance technician, but look, she expanded the view. 37 different files accessed in the same session. All human delegates, all with neural implants. They were looking for someone they could weaponize, and they found you. Her tail coiled around his leg. Recently injured, newly repaired implant, close enough to the Kashari delegation to cause maximum damage. But how would they trigger it? The implant could be hacked remotely. Someone could inject false signals, make it broadcast whatever they want. She pulled up another file. If the Kashari delegation suddenly hears what they perceive as violent human thoughts during the treaty signing, war becomes inevitable. Ashton circled to face her. Your people or mine? Could be either. Could be both. She met his eyes. There are factions on both sides who profit from conflict. An alert flashed across the screen. Senna froze. What is it? Someone just tried to access this terminal remotely. Her claws flew across the interface. They're trying to see what we're looking at. Can you trace them? I can try. The display flickered. They're using a signal bounce. Wait. This signature. I've seen this before. Where? 3 years ago. After my partner died. Her voice went cold. The Separatist attack. Someone wiped the security footage. We never found out who, but the trace signature was identical to this. Understanding crystallized. Someone with access to both human and Kashari systems. Someone who's been planning this for years. Someone who wants us to fail. Senna's tail lashed. They've been waiting for the right moment to destroy any chance of peace. The lights went out. Emergency systems kicked in after 3 seconds, bathing the suite in dim red. Senna was already moving, Predator Grace guiding her through darkness. She pressed a weapon into his hand. Kashari neural disruptor. Point and fire. A sound in the corridor. Footsteps. Multiple contacts. Senna pulled him down behind the couch, her body pressed against his. 3 of them, she breathed. Moving in formation. Professional. Yours or mine? Can't tell yet. Her hand tightened on his. When they breach, I'll go left. You take right. Fire on my mark. The door mechanism beeped. Override code being entered. Stay close to me, Ashton thought. I'm not losing you. You won't, Senna promised. The door slid open. Figures silhouetted in corridor light. Definitely armed. Now, Senna hissed. They moved as one. Ashton rolled right, coming up behind an armchair. The first attacker fired. Energy bolts scorched the air where he'd been. He returned fire, caught them center mass. They dropped. Senna was on the second attacker before they could react. Claws flashed in the emergency lighting. She had them pinned, one hand around their throat, purring with deadly intent. The third attacker hesitated. Ashton fired, dropped them beside their companion. Lights, Senna commanded. Emergency override, authorization Senna 7 Alpha. The lights flickered on. All 3 attackers were human. Ashton moved to the nearest one, pulling off their helmet. Young. Standard corporate security armor with the insignia filed off. Mercenaries, he said. He found a data chip hidden in the armor's lining. Senna took it, slotted it into her wrist unit. Her expression went very still. What is it? Targeting data. For tomorrow's assassination. She looked up. The shooter is already in position. Has been for 3 days. Observation deck, section 9. Perfect sightline to the treaty signing platform. We stopped them. There's something else. Her claws tapped the chip. A secondary target. Me. They're planning to kill me during the confusion. Make it look like you did it. Broadcast violent thoughts, then end me while everyone watches. Cold fury settled over Ashton. That's not going to happen. No, Senna agreed, voice deadly soft. It's not. Because we're going to find this shooter and drag whoever planned this into the light. Together. Together. She stepped close, pressing her forehead against his. A Kashari gesture. Intimate. Trusting. Because I love you, he thought. Because I just found you and I'm not letting go. Her pupils dilated. You mean that? Every word I think. She kissed him. Hard, fierce, tasting like violence and promise. When she pulled back, her eyes were bright. Then let's go hunting, human. They secured the unconscious attackers, grabbed weapons and equipment, and moved toward the door. The corridor stretched ahead, emergency lighting casting everything in shades of red. The observation deck, Senna said. We need to reach it before morning, before the signing. They'll have security, countermeasures. Good. Her tail lashed. I'm in the mood for a fight. They moved through the darkened station together, weapons ready, moving like they'd been partners for years instead of hours. Ashton's implant broadcast every tactical thought, every protective impulse, every fierce determination to keep her safe. Somewhere, someone was listening. Somewhere, someone was realizing they'd made a critical error. They'd given Ashton Drake something worth fighting for. And Senna, beautiful, deadly Senna, had found something worth feeling again. The observation deck was 8 levels up. They had 4 hours until dawn. 4 hours to stop an assassination, expose a conspiracy, and maybe, if they were lucky, survive long enough to see what came next. Ready? Senna asked. Ashton checked his weapon, met her eyes. With you? Always. Her smile was predatory perfection. Then let's show them what happens when they threaten what's mine. They disappeared into the shadows, 2 hunters moving as one, bound by thoughts and touch, and the desperate hope that love could be louder than war. The maintenance shaft was cramped and dark. Ashton pulled himself up another rung, Senna moving silently above him. Her tail occasionally brushed his face as she climbed. 2 more levels, she whispered. They'd avoided main corridors, taking service routes through the station's skeleton. Now the observation deck loomed above them, its vast transparasteel dome visible through gaps in the shaft. Senna reached the access hatch and worked the lock with delicate precision. The mechanism clicked. She eased it open. Through the narrow opening, Ashton could see the observation deck. Empty, mostly. Dawn was still 2 hours away. But there, near the far wall, partially concealed behind a decorative pillar, movement. Senna's hand found his, squeezed once. She'd seen it too. They slipped through the hatch, staying low, using ornamental planters as cover. The deck was designed for tourists, with sleeping views of the starfield. Beautiful, peaceful, perfect killing ground. Ashton moved left. Senna went right. They converged on the position from opposite angles without speaking, understanding each other's tactics instinctively. They struck simultaneously. The shooter was Keshari. Gray fur, military bearing, eyes going wide as Senna's claws found their throat, and Ashton's disruptor pressed against their spine. Don't move, Senna hissed. The Keshari's tail went rigid. Senna, I should have known you'd. Shut up, Vorin. Her voice carried absolute venom. You're gonna tell us everything. Starting with who ordered this. Ashton pressed the disruptor harder. She said everything. Vorin's eyes flicked between them. You've been compromised. By him. I can smell it on you. Senna's claws drew blood. Who ordered this? Council Elder Theron, your own superior. He's been planning this for 5 years. Vorin's laugh was bitter. You were never investigating humans for intelligence. You were being tested to see if human emotion could corrupt a Keshari operative. Ashton felt Senna trembling, rage or grief or both. And when I proved resistant, she asked softly. They needed a new approach. Enter Agent Drake. Vorin's gaze shifted to Ashton. The implant malfunction wasn't accidental. We modified it during surgery, made sure you'd be assigned to these negotiations, made sure you'd compromise each other. He's insane, Ashton thought. No, Senna said. He's a fanatic. She pulled Vorin upright, slamming him against the pillar. You're going to provide testimony, full confession. Or what? You'll kill me? Voren laughed. Go ahead. It proves my point. Senna's expression went cold. I don't need to kill you. I just need to broadcast what you've said. She tapped her wrist unit. A recording indicator blinked red. Voren's face fell. Active channel, Senna continued. Streaming directly to Keshari intelligence and human diplomatic security. Every word. Every confession. Her smile was sharp as broken glass. You're done, Voren. Footsteps echoed through the observation deck. Security teams from both delegations converged, weapons drawn. Director Locke arrived first. Stand down. Sir, this is the shooter, we know. We heard everything. Locke's gaze shifted to Senna. Both governments have been monitoring since the attack in your quarters. We needed confirmation before we could move. Elder Theron stepped through the security cordon, expression weary. Only after the attack, Theron said. When we realized someone was making a move, we activated deep surveillance. Heard Voren's confession. You're involved, Senna accused. He said what he was told to say. By the real architect. Someone who wanted to implicate me and seize control during the chaos of war. Who? Ashton demanded. Lieutenant Cade Merrick, Locke said grimly. My own attaché, working with Keshari extremists for 3 years. Since the attack that killed Senna's partner, Senna went very still. Merrick was human. Unless... It was never about separatism, Ashton finished. It was about creating you. Someone who would hate humans enough to be useful, or love them enough to be destroyed. Theron nodded. He calculated both outcomes. He didn't care which. Where is he? Senna's voice was deadly quiet. In custody, Locke said. Arrested 20 minutes ago. Already confessing. Security teams moved in, taking Voren. The shooter went without resistance, tail dragging. Varen approached them carefully. Your surveillance work was conducted under my authorization, but I never intended for it to be weaponized. He turned to Ashton. Your implant will be repaired immediately, the malicious modifications removed, and the broadcasting, Ashton asked, will stop within the hour. Varen's gaze shifted between them. What happened between you, what you shared, that remains private. Locke cleared his throat. The treaty signing will proceed. Both peoples will be informed that an extremist plot was foiled through cooperation. He almost smiled. You two are being called heroes. The security teams dispersed. The observation deck emptied until only Ashton and Senna remained, standing before the vast viewport as dawn began to break. The stars wheeled in ancient patterns. The nebula beyond glowed soft purple and gold. It's over, Senna said quietly. Not over, Ashton corrected. Just beginning. She turned to face him. The implant will be fixed. You'll stop broadcasting. I'll stop hearing your thoughts. Her ears drooped. We'll go back to being strangers. Or, Ashton said, pulling her close, we figure out how to actually talk to each other, using words. I don't know how to do that. Neither do I. He tilted her chin up. But I'm willing to learn if you are. Her tail wrapped around his waist. You really meant it, what you thought, about loving me, every word, even though you've known me for less than 2 days, especially because of that. He smiled. Everything I feel for you has been completely brutally honest. She was quiet. Then, I love you too? I didn't think I'd ever feel that again. But hearing your thoughts, feeling how you see me, her voice broke. You made me remember what it's like to be alive. They kissed as dawn spilled across the observation deck, soft and slow and absolutely certain. No urgency, no desperation, just two people choosing each other despite the odds. When they finally broke apart, Senna rested her forehead against his. What happens now? She asked. Now we go to the treaty signing. We watch our governments pretend to be civilized. Ashton traced the markings along her jaw. And then I take you somewhere far from politics and conspiracies. Where? Earth. I want to show you where I'm from. Want you to meet my family. He smiled. Want to make new memories that don't involve people trying to kill us. Her purr vibrated through both of them. I'd like that. After Earth, you can show me your homeworld. Show me everything. Deal, human. They stood together, watching the station wake around them. In a few hours, history would be made. Treaties signed, peace declared, fragile but real. And two people from different worlds would stand beside each other, bound not by politics or duty, but by something far simpler and stronger, by choice, by truth, by love spoken in thoughts and whispered in words, and proven in the simple act of staying. The galaxy turned. But in that moment, on that observation deck, Ashton Drake and Senna wrote their own ending, and it was beautiful.